I'm going to tell you what my car story is. And I said, okay, we open on a race with Lightning McQueen because I love Lightning McQueen, the name. The character design's fine except for the windshield eyes. I think they should do it more like the Chevron cars with the eyes on the headlights or something. But we open on a race with Lightning McQueen. And he knows he has the ability to be the fastest race car on that track. Okay, he's a race car among other race cars. They can talk to each other, they can think. It's like Toy Story. They just don't tell the humans. They don't get caught because it's obviously going to ruin things for them. It's bad. So, they don't. They just talk to each other when they can. They question things, but they can't do anything. The difference between toys and cars is that toys in Toy Story can move around and do, right now my toys could be in the room. If this was Pixar, they'd be moving around, talking, doing things. Cars, you can't move. You're stuck. And that's it. So, we open on a race. Lightning McQueen, wants to be the fastest car on that. But it's not up to him. It's up to me, the driver. It's up to whoever's driving. I decide how fast the car wants to go. I decide when to stop. I decide when to go. I am the one who is in control of this car. So he and all the other cars are rigged, or basically, should I say, bought or paid off to lose to a car named Lucky Dan. And Lucky Dan always gets lucky in the end because he's lucky. No, because all the other drivers are paid off to lose. So none of the other cars say anything. They don't like it, but who cares? I mean, what are they going to do? Lightning McQueen has to. This is his world. This is how he's been dealing. He's a race car. He wants to be number one. He wants to be the fastest, but he can't because it's the driver. And the driver Steve, his driver Steve, get it? Steve McQueen, Lightning McQueen. So basically, his driver Steve. His name's not Steve McQueen, but Steve. Basically, Steve is, he's driving them, and, they do the race, and they're rigged to lose, or whatever, they're paid off. And then, just before the race is about to go, and everything's going to go, I guess you could call this the first turning point. Lightning McQueen, obviously, we're in a stadium, Jumbotron is on, so he's looking at the Jumbotron, and a advertisement comes on, and the advertisement says, the hybrid Herb. And it's like, what is this? And Hybrid Herb is the first car of its kind that can drive without a driver. It has computer navigation, so it's basically like the Knight Rider car. It's basically got a mind of its own. It can drive. It's got computer navigation. Whoa, this changes Lightning McQueen's world. Oh my goodness. There is a car in the world that doesn't require a driver. And all you need is basically this new computer navigation system. And that's it. And I can be the fastest. I can drive. I don't need Steve anymore. He sees the advertisement, and suddenly the race starts, and the engines start revving up. And before the advertisement goes away, it says it's going to be at the museum this Sunday on Route 66, and you can't hear it. So, but the race goes off. So now, obviously, the car, Lightning McQueen, and the driver's driving, he can't really see it. And it's, maybe we could have a gag where it's, going around in circles, and he, it's funny because the noises and the advertisement, so you can't really see it or hear it, or Lightning McQueen can't see it, so we take his perspective. So anyway, along that race, Steve swerves out of control and he crashes Lightning. And Lightning is pretty banged up, but Lightning doesn't care because it's like Lucky Dan wins again, of course, and Lightning's crashed, but he's thinking about this hybrid Herb. Oh my goodness, there's a car that doesn't require a driver. How am I going to get there? I need to get there. How can I do this? But before he can even think about any of this and him being banged up, a tow truck comes. And the tow truck comes and, hooks up, takes, Lightning off. And this is obviously, we could say it's the tow truck from, what we've seen, Mater, basically Mater. But I'd like to call it Rusty, the tow truck, because Rusty sounds cooler. So Rusty picks him up in, Bud Steele's mechanic shop. And, Bud Steele's there, and he's telling Steve, it's going to cost such and such and such. You get the parts, I got to order them, you got to leave the car here, and he puts it on the car lift. And Lightning McQueen is like, oh my God, I'm on a car lift. No, this is bad, you know what I'm saying? How am I going to now I'm going to be stuck here all weekend with the parts. It's like, I need to somehow get off this thing and go to the museum. And then, boom, we see a kid named Rodney Steele, Rod, comes in, and he's basically a little older than Dash from The Incredibles. Young kid, doesn't really have a license, but he loves cars. He knows how to work on them. He's sort of like I don't want to say like an Anakin kind of Skywalker, pod racing type kid. Young, and he's into cars, but he doesn't have a license yet. But that doesn't deter him from driving them. Because we find out from Rusty that when Uncle Bud is not around, because that's his uncle, he works on the shops, Uncle Bud, when he leaves, sometimes he might take the car off for a little joyride. Take it around, do some stuff. Nothing too big. Just drive it around, drive the cars out. and the keys, and that's it, and he drives them. So he's like, Lightning gets, an epiphany. He's like, well, maybe I can get this kid to drive me to the museum. I mean, I'm risking it. I have to expose myself, but one, even if I do, who's going to believe a kid if he says, this car can talk to me? No one's going to believe him. It's a kid. So basically, it starts raining, gets stuck in the shop, lightning starts coming, it's a storm, and the kid just happens to be watching Frankenstein. I have a little Frankenstein reference in there. So he's watching it, Frankenstein, and suddenly the lightning storm just... So Lightning McQueen gets an idea. Oh, I can use this. So he starts talking like, oh, Rodney, and then it's like, who the hell's there? Rodney's sort of scared. He's a kid. He's like, what's going on? Who's there? Hey, I'm going to call the cops. And he's like, no, you're not going to call the cops. I wouldn't call the cops if I were you, because I know you've been stealing your uncle's cars. Basically he's telling, and he's like, how do you know that? He's like, oh, I used to be, like I'm the spirit of something, you see these movies where they become a spirit of some crap and somebody gets into the inanimate object, like Jack Frost, basically, Michael Keaton. Terrible reference, but Michael Keaton comes back. So he comes into this, and the kid is just, blown away. Oh my God, the car is talking. The car, it's alive, like Frankenstein. And he says, I'm going to turn you in, Rodney, if you don't bring me down in this car lift, and you have to do a good deed. And it's like, if not, I'm going to turn you into the police, and you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison for basically stealing those cars. So Rodney's a little afraid. Okay, he takes it down. And he's like, okay, what do you want me to do? Okay, well, I need you to take this car to the museum, Route 66, showcasing the new hybrid Herb. What? Why do you need me to take it? Because I need you to do it! Basically, funny stuff like he's using the kid. Okay, but then Rodney kind of agrees, gets in the car, and then when Rodney gets in the car, it's stick shift, and he doesn't know how to drive stick shift. So a little gag ensues of, Lightning, basically the clutch, and him trying to teach him, and he can't do it. So they realize they're not going to be able to teach this guy stick shift in time. It's over. But wait, he goes, he's driven Rusty before. So why doesn't he just hook on Lightning, and then they go and the tow truck, and then they go off and onto Route 66. He's already driven, Rusty, so just take him. So Rusty, of course, has to be like, oh my God, what's going on here, And then, maybe we could have it that he sort of finds out, or he plays along with it, like he goes, yes, I'm your Lightning's uncle, or, Rusty, or something. And they basically play Rodney for a fool, basically, and Rodney's just blown away the fact that these cars are coming to life. So, he hooks on Lightning, and they go off onto Route 66 to get to the museum. And that's basically the story that I want to see. I don't know about you guys, but I'd really like to see that, because it's like, here we have a kid that, we're not going to have Rodney be this stupid little dumb kid. He's really going to be kind of smart, and later along in the journey, he's going to learn a lot of things, and he's going to actually kind of question, Lightning McQueen, and go, wait a sec, how are you going to call the cops? You're a car. What are you going to do? You don't have hands. How are you going to, and not only that, I mean, if you call a cop and I tell him you're talking, I'm probably going to get rich. You know what I'm saying? Like he's like thinking, like, why am I even helping you out? You know what I'm saying? You're a car, and you know what I'm saying? Why am I? This doesn't make any sense. No one's going to, this is, and things that he starts thinking about along the journey, and start questioning and getting these things going along in the story that you don't see basically in any other movie, like a Herbie Fully Loaded or some stupid crap. It's not about, Rodney takes Lightning and they win the big race at the end and they become lifelong friends. It's like, he needs him to see how. But like I said, the story's still unfolding. We don't know what's going to happen. How do you know Hybrid Herb is even real? It could be a Wizard of Oz type thing. We don't know if it's real. What if it is real? How is that going to... What are they going to do? Take this navigation and install it in? Who's going to do that? What's going to happen? This is a lot of story things going on. What about Rusty? What about cops? I mean, this kid has to drive. It's a pretty long journey. It's not like, 1 block away. It's going to be a pretty, maybe like an hour or 2 hour drive. It's a pretty, or maybe even farther, a day's drive. It's going to be pretty far to get to this museum. And this kid doesn't have a license, and he's obviously a kid. You can look at him and go, this guy's a kid. Think of like an Anakin Skywalker. And he's got to drive this car. So we've got these 2 cars with this kid, and, they've got to get on this, highway, Route 66, where there's highway patrol, there's all this danger, there's all this stuff. We don't know what's going to happen. Is, Lightning going to get to see Hybrid Herb? Is, what's going to happen with Rusty? What is, you know what I'm saying? What's going to happen here with the cops? Do they even make it there? You see, there's a lot of things that I see in the story that I don't see from the actual Cars movie now.